I even wore green to match it. 28% state of charge. Oh God. It does also ship at start with, yes, you guessed it, NACS, which is not on this car.
Wait, what?
There's my hand. Okay, I'll be here if anyone needs me.
Thank you to our sponsors for today's video, Eaton, Amber, InfyPower, and StarCharge. Eaton is a one-stop shop for implementing reliable and innovative EV charging infrastructure at your site. Across all applications, Eaton's EV charging infrastructure hardware and software gives you the scalability, flexibility, and intelligence you need to charge today and scale up tomorrow. Learn more at eaton.com/EVCI. Also, our sponsor Amber, providing modern protection plans for your Tesla's battery and more, without the hassle of long-term contracts or upfront payments. Check out the link in the description to explore their plan options and use code SPEC5 for a 5% discount on all orders. And InfyPower is the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. And StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage with microgrid solutions.
Hello and welcome to a very special look at Hyundai's new flagship. Or might I even say EGMP's new flagship, because this has the biggest battery we've seen yet in an EGMP product. And all people seem to care about is range. Hyundai does claim they have the most awarded EV lineup. Now that is technically just the awards that they were the ones involved in. So there are other really good EVs out there that didn't participate, Tesla. But this is actually part of the infamous IONIQ lineup. We had the IONIQ originally, then we had the IONIQ 5, then the IONIQ 6, and then IONIQ 9. 7 was actually next in the numerical lineup, and this was unveiled as a 7 concept back in November 2021 at the LA Auto Show, actually in the color very similar to this, and it was gorgeous. Very interesting, very unique car. This is now the production version. It was renamed, I think, to make it more clear that it's like an EV9 kind of comparable thing. Basically Hyundai's EV9, but better in a lot of ways. We'll get to that soon. And I guess their official terminology is that 9, calling it 9, leaves room for 7 and 8. So smaller SUVs, which does make sense. But here it is, the Hyundai IONIQ 9 in its beautiful green exterior with a green interior on this one. We're gonna take a full look around, as much stuff inside as possible, maybe even play with the software a bit, but I am crammed on time, but still, I'm gonna show you everything I possibly can with this really interesting new car, the flagship of the EGMP line. Before you ask me, pricing, I don't know. They haven't told us yet at the time of this recording. If it is updated, we'll put it in the video. If not, you know, we have future videos coming on this car when it is fully unveiled and launched to the public. It will be built in Georgia, so it's made in America, built for Americans, but it is also a global car. But with initial first glance, yes, it is an SUV, but designers love to give their input on exactly how it looks and why it looks. And this is meant to be Teutonic, which is a word, kind of like a plane. So they're, I guess, using plane type things on the front, leading into the back, which they have toted as a boat tail. So it's a very clean, smooth, angular line. Actually, the highest point of the car is above the second row passengers, which is somewhat unique. So pulling back here, it's kind of a interesting, very sleek, I guess, constant curve. There is no going up and then straight across and then down like we would see in a very traditional large SUV. You also have the door handles that pop out, very EV9 similar. I'm going to make a lot of references to the EV9, by the way, because that's what a lot of people will be directly comparing this with. Even though they are sort of sister companies, you know, a lot of shared parts, shared technology, it is still unique in some ways, and in some ways, just better. The EV9 sure got the jump on this in terms of when it came out and some of the things on it, but that's given this some time to improve. And I think we'll see probably some of those improvements come into the EV9 with its new refresh probably coming soon. This is presumably a lower trim because it has 20-inch wheels. There are also 21 and 19-inch wheels. The 19 is probably the lowest trim. 21s are bigger, and there's also the 21-inch calligraphy wheels, which are also airplane inspired, kind of an airplane turbine looking with a billion spokes. Probably impossible to clean, but I'm sure Colton will do a video on how to clean them over on Out of Spec Detailing. But the design itself, like I said, is just very sleek and sexy in person. As I mentioned, the highest point up here, right above these roof rails, above the second row passengers. We'll look inside in a minute. And then you have the rearview mirrors here. They are digital over in other markets that allow that. I'm hoping that comes to the US at some point, but this really slippery design does contribute to, I guess what you could say, a really impressive drag coefficient for a car. With the digital rearview mirrors, it's 0.259. Now, this is America, so I'm just going to tell you it's 0.269. Nice. 0.27-ish is the actual drag coefficient, which is impressive. That does undercut the 0.28 to 0.29 that the EV9 is. So yeah, credit where credit is due. Right here in the back, you have a very muscular kind of shoulder. A lot of cars kind of do this, but this is actually the most aggressive. You can even see with the lighting here, that's kind of an interesting diagonal line that is meant to be kind of, I don't know about meant to be, but does coincide with some Korean design trends, actually with the hanbok dress. There's a single diagonal collar that kind of cuts through the middle of the dress. That's what they do call that internally. And I do think that's a very neat design choice. It does kind of cut across the side of the car, not unlike that diagonal line that cuts across the IONIQ 5. Then back here, A, B, C, and D pillar, very, very thick, cool two-tone accents. Oh no, my fingerprints. Oop, sorry. I know they'll wipe it down after me. And then the tail is also, I'd say, maybe the most unique looking. Up front here does feel comparable to Palisade, and kind of like how EV9 is touted as the electric Telluride, but different. This is kind of like the electric Palisade, but different. They're not limited to some of the design components of a combustion engine car, hence the longest wheelbase ever used in an EGMP car. This is a 123.2 inch wheelbase. That's 1.2 inches longer than the EV9, and it's also the longest overall, 199.2 inches, 197.4 is the EV9. So this is like almost 2 inches longer than the EV9, but still shorter than the Rivian R1S by a few inches, and about the exact same as the Model X as far as overall length. Up front here is what they actually call the technology cassette. It's kind of this big black bar. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's where they're actually hiding all of the sensors. You have the ultrasonics here, of course, the big radar here, a front camera right there. There's also the front camera up there, of course. This will have HDA, you know, their highway driver assistance suite in general. This license plate looks pretty sweet. Of course, we'll have the ugly American license plate over here in the US. Then there's also the parametric pixels integrated into the LED lights and lower fascia for a sophisticated image. There's actually what they call a generational jumping appeal to these pixels. A lot of older folks, I hate to say that, but people old enough to remember early video games, things like Pong, like very pixelated, old, but at the time new tech, that was very pixely. But then also just this modern design trend of pixelated and useful functional elements on cars using pixels. We see that over in Audi as well with their like OLED lights. It's kind of spanning generations. At least that's what they say about this. And it is very interesting, and we'll get to software and stuff later, but kind of like EV9, you can actually download content and pay for, you know, customizable accent lighting and stuff later. But these pixel elements are very, very Hyundai. Like the IONIQ 5 is notably where those really shine, but also the IONIQ 6 and the 7 concept really show those off aggressively, even more than what we see here. But back to the technology cassette that is on the front. This is meant to be a future-proof area. So as more sensors are developed, such as LiDAR, or maybe even other additional like long and short range radars, maybe even more ultrasonic sensors, more cameras, I don't know what they'll do, but they're leaving space for future improvements and additions. That's pretty cool. You also have the active cooling vents down there. That's nothing new on EGMP stuff, but cool to have that. This is a very interesting design choice on the side here. These above both wheel wells. I don't really know the reasoning for that. There's also kind of a similar, it's like a piece of the color separated from the rest of the color. Very interesting. But I am just kind of obsessed with this color, honestly. Around back, this is the more unique part of the car, if you ask me. This feels very much like the 7 concept, just the way that's like an arch through which you actually enter it, through which I will enter it right now. It's always the challenge when I find a new car. How do I get in? Okay, button right here. There we go. Boom. Not the fastest tailgate, but that's okay. And they liked to compare, when they were giving the presentation, just how much better this is than the competition. Of course, they selectively chose a couple competition things, but they chose Rivian R1S and Tesla Model X. Now, given the Model X's shape, it's no surprise that this does beat it in terms of storage capacity, but the Rivian was what was really interesting and impressive, that this does beat it in some ways, at least the ways they showed. This is also the first Hyundai model to eliminate roof antenna by putting GPS and SAT satellite into the windshield cover itself, somewhere up there. And then the connected car services are into the instrument panel, and the tailgate glass is where the actual FM, AM, and digital multimedia broadcasting, DMB, is located. So it's literally an antenna-less car completely, not even a shark fin on top. Looks absolutely sleek, and technically has an aero advantage as well. This, in my opinion, is the best color to choose, but there are 16 total exterior colors, probably a number of those being grayscale, typical, and also 6 combos, or 6 different, I guess, interior color combos that are dual color. And there's also a black interior if you do like being in a cave. Speaking of interiors, let's check out the inside of the IONIQ 9. Let me actually start in the back because there's just less to talk about, but space-wise, I think it's very important. Design element they wanted to note is these ellipse figures. I mean, they were very ellipse heavy in the IONIQ 7, or just the 7 concept. So they tried to incorporate some of those throughout the interior. Of course, they are limited in some ways, but you have an ellipse here that actually completes through the doors. They connect both doors in a way. And I even see, like, you know, this design trend right here, very ellipsy. But getting in, wow, very cool two-tone color. I am actually a huge fan of how that looks. So I guess I'll one touch forward slide. That's cool. Cool feature. Sitting back here. Okay, I am actually shook, as the kids say. I'm 6 feet tall. I was expecting the slopey roof to actually inflict on my headroom quite a bit, and the opposite is true. I can sit fully up. Now, I might be reclined, but here's the most upright way the seat can go, and I still have room to spare, and I'm wearing a hat. That's wild. But folding this back, okay, actually, that's impressive. This is also when I can point out the fact that we do have USB-C ports. Wow, it's really dark in here without the glass roof. I would add that, honestly. I don't know what the trims are. They haven't told us all the different trims and the prices and stuff, but add the glass roof. It's totally worth it, especially in a light interior like this. But the light interior does help. The light headliner, that helps it feel much brighter. Well, a little bit anyways. 100-watt USB-C ports that directly take power from the DC battery, the high voltage battery. That's fantastic. Plenty of cup holder space. There are speakers. I don't know which speakers the system this is equipped with, but we'll find out here in a second. USB ports on both sides. That's funny. 2 cup holders on one side back here, and then 1 cup holder on this side. I guess there are only 2 seats back here, so that's kind of what we're stuck with. But reclining rear seats, that's awesome. Let's see how far back they go. Oh man. Okay, I'll be here if anyone needs me. This has been a heck of a long day, and this is kind of relaxing. I expected this to be the most stressful part, but here I am just chilling in the back of an IONIQ 9. Okay, I should actually keep going. The one touch thing is nice, so I will get back out. Ugh. Okay, so this is equipped with the Bose, by the way. The Bose is I'm guessing a premium option. 14 speaker Bose. I think there's also a standard 8 speaker system. Bose is actually can be decent, I'd say. Now I wish I knew exactly where the back seat was when I was sitting. That's the only downside. Maybe, okay, I can pull that down. I'm doing the thing of sitting behind myself. So here's the 3rd row. I'm actually totally comfortable. I'll even lean it back up. So I am 6 foot again, sitting behind myself. Now I'll climb around to the second row. Okay, well, here I'm again. Plenty of space, like eons of space above me. I do have vents here. There are also vents right there above the rear row. I didn't mention that earlier. Just those two, I believe. It is funny looking back at just how like tubular this car feels on the inside. I'll lean this back up. Oh no, that's the other thing. Okay. Anyways, there's ambient lighting on the doors. I'm guessing you can change the color of that. And looks like we do have a screen back here. So I'm gonna jump in the front really quick. I really love the interior design of this car. Like, we see things like this in IONIQ 9 or IONIQ 6 and IONIQ 5. But I'm gonna go ahead and power it on. Nice. Okay. Ah, yes. Check vehicle electric system. Check side view mirror warning light. This is, I'm guessing, technically pre-production, but basically production ready. Check built-in cam system. Okay, it is giving warnings, but it's okay. Now that the car is on, let me go see what the rear screen is showing. I'm guessing it's just basically climate control. Yes, and rear heated seats. Looks like a blank button for probably rear ventilated seats, which is awesome. And you do have the ability to have the reclining seats like we see in the top trims of the EV9. 100-watt USB ports seem to be everywhere, which is awesome. Then we have this storage compartment, which they talked about a lot in the presentation. I guess Universal Island 2.0 is what they called it. And I guess we can access it from there, but also here. I'm gonna actually turn the temperature down, 22 Celsius, that sounds good, because it's getting really hot in here. Jumping back up front, one last look at the back. We got these shades, that makes sense. I'm getting tight on time, so I do wanna show you guys the front and spend enough time up here. Lots of seat maneuverability options. Okay, maybe not everything's functioning. That's okay. Looks like we got a little bit of seat memory. And what is this? Massage? Start. Nope. Don't do that. Welcome. Closing the door here. Wow, it is quiet. So, this car has the Bose. It also has active noise cancellation. And, oh, the rear view camera seems to be not functioning, but it does have a digital rear view mirror, so that's kind of cool if it does work. But yeah, here's the front, the cabin. Very interesting. Got the lights similar to what the other IONIQ cars have. I'm not going to honk the horn. We're in a studio and someone's filming literally in the room next to me. It is nice that I have private filming time. You have the lounge capability here in the front seat. So maybe it's just not equipped with the rear lounge seats. That's very plausible because this is probably not top trim. And yeah, wireless charging pad, rubber, so it doesn't slide around very much. And the press release said this was actively cooled. Vehicle accessories are discharging the battery. Start the vehicle. Okay, starting the vehicle. Nope, that turned it off. Okay, well there's the animation on the screen, that's cool. 28% state of charge. Oh God. At 28%, it says we can do 133 kilometers. Okay, well, it's giving a lot of warnings still, but it does look like basically all the same software, more or less. And right now, I think I have the air conditioning only set to the back, which is also a feature for glamping, as they say. However, I have not seen any of the actual, I have not seen the climate control screen to tell me that, or whether there's a camp mode or a pet mode. I'm gonna look for that. Turn on my air conditioned seat. Oh, it's like warm in here. Okay, here we go. I love all these physical controls. So that is one thing they said as a call out feature. I apologize for some of the wind noise, but it is hot in here, so I'm going to cool it down. They called out the fact that they wanted physical buttons, not a screen, to do everything, because they wanted the driver to have, please use the system after starting the vehicle. Start the vehicle. I'm trying to start the vehicle. Brake, foot on the brake. And now it's asking for the key. The key is right here, so I'm not really sure what that's all about, but anyways, see if the, oh yeah. There we go. So that's the room I'm in, so that's kind of cool. There's my backpack over there. It's still beeping. Okay, well, I see rear camera there, so I'm not really sure why it was complaining earlier, unless I guess it is a different camera for this. So that's something to consider. I hope it lets me actually get past this. Anyways, Hyundai has said they actually want a lot of physical buttons because it's, muscle memory, easy access to your commonly used settings such as climate control. Volume knob is super great. It's very, very light to the touch, actually. Oh, that's probably FM radio. And then over here, not really sure what that does. Why are you beeping? Okay, can I poke around here now? Cinema, phone projection, setup, voice memo, built-in cam, high pass, car wash mode. That's awesome. I could never find that in the EV9. I don't know if the EV9 has that. Weather, calendar, sports, valet mode, Hyundai CarPlay, car to home. This does have car to home capability, or vehicle to X, basically. So vehicle to other things, maybe even other vehicles at some point. That'd be cool. The sports app is hilarious. Does that actually go anywhere? Blue link activation required. Yes, sure. Let's see if this actually works. That'd be awesome. Oh, maybe not. Okay, never mind. I'm tight on time. Don't have time for that. So yeah, feels, comparable to EV9. Driving position feels similar. It is interesting. I can notice the slope, the rake of the windshield much more aggressively than the EV9. Love to see the bows. Can't wait to really try that. Every time this message comes up, I have to restart the car. Restarting. But all the steering wheel controls feel good. The steering wheel itself, I don't think looks great, but curious what you guys think. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's very functional. Of course, it's electrically adjustable, which is nice. And you have this torpedo thing, just like we've seen on other vehicles before. That's over here as well. I don't love the start-stop button, honestly. I prefer the cars that are just get in, foot on the brake, and it goes. But anyways, one distinct difference between the EV9 is that the climate controls are down here. There is no climate control screen right here. I actually love this. I don't love the climate control screen in the EV9. It's behind the steering wheel, like literally right in your line of sight, just like that, how you can see it on the screen. So I prefer it down here. It's got a bunch of touchscreen controls. They're actually quite responsive, and it looks pretty good. And it's not angled too far up, so it's not gonna collect a lot of glare. And these knobs are nice. I'm a big fan of this. And yeah, these line of buttons are what were up here on the EV9, which got really annoying because to use the touchscreen, I would rest my hand here to do this, and this doesn't have that. So that's pretty sweet, pretty nifty. And this driver screen up here, I'm guessing we can change various things about it. And I know as a downloadable content option, you can actually probably download different types of displays, like different looking displays. These, I'm guessing, are modeled after what the Palisade and other Hyundai products have. That makes sense. And there's also this thing here that we've seen in other Hyundai products. It's almost like a magnetic thing. You can throw magnets on there. I think that's actually super fun. You can customize your car just a little bit like that. Still no idea what this knob does over here, but this is volume. So power cycled again. Turn it back on. Okay. Oh, so this is the like dial knob through different radio stations, etc. Cool. Okay. EV settings. This is probably going to be all very familiar, very similar. And it's also, they wanted me to note that it's not final software necessarily. So things could still change, but it's actually very responsive. I still have a lot of issues with eGMP software in general. Like trying to navigate on here is so frustrating. Their route planning is not very good. Maybe though it has improved for this. I will give it benefit of the doubt wherever possible. But yeah, one of our complaints also is that there's not really a direct camp mode, and I haven't seen where that is, but you can select rear only climate control. So maybe they're bringing a camp mode out. I'm not really sure. Drive mode buttons down here. That's pretty nifty. Drive, terrain, eco, sport, normal. Okay. And then you press to go to terrain, and that's where you go auto, snow, mud, sand. So wrapping up with some technical specifications that I know of. This is a 110.3 kilowatt hour battery pack. So bigger than the EV9. We are probably going to see a new refresh of the EV9 soon, which might have this new bigger battery. That's pretty sweet because you know, EGMP stands for Electric Global Modular Platform or something like that. Modular is the keyword here. So it can be made to feature more things, including more battery capacity. People want range. So this is a 110 kilowatt hour battery pack. I'm guessing higher voltage than the EV9. They quote 10 to 80 charging speed in 24 minutes, which is the exact same quote as the EV9. So with a smaller battery, that must mean this does charge faster, which probably means higher voltage. This also has more power than the EV9. 160 kilowatt rear motor as standard, literally always has that. But there's also an 70 kilowatt front motor, which gives you a total of 230 kilowatts for the long range all-wheel drive. And there's also a performance model, which is 160 kilowatts on both axles. So a total of 320 kilowatts. That is, 430 horsepower. EV9 tops out at 379 horsepower. So this is definitely more power, probably a bit more torque, but they didn't actually tell us the torque numbers yet. So 0 to 60 is under 5 seconds. That might be conservative. We will see. A little bit of weight reduction because of the body in white changes. So there's more aluminum with this car. They're really going after the range number. You know, the EV9 just tops out at just over 300 miles EPA. This is 300 miles minimum EPA in all trims, topping out at up to 335 miles EPA, 620 kilometers on the WLTP. It does also ship at start with, yes, you guessed it, NACS, which is not on this car. That's interesting. What? Okay, I guess this is an early pre-pro car maybe, but they will be delivering in 2025 spring in the US and Korea at the same time, so not a staggered launch. Korea usually gets it first, but in this case, we're both getting it first because it's built here in the US, I'm guessing. Here, we can finally see the lighting now that the car is actually on. And yeah, NACS will be there at launch. It will support Tesla superchargers, 17,000 of the 20-something thousand stations so far, but more to come on that. And it supports charging on the IONA network, which is forthcoming more and more and more throughout next year. That will be very interesting. Really excited to check out the IONA charging hubs. Plug and charge is also a thing that will, of course, be on this car, in theory at launch. So there's a lot of things that are coming at launch. I don't actually know the pricing yet. They said 110.3 kilowatt hour battery. I don't know if that's gross or usable, but typically they quote close to usable, I think. So we should expect, honestly, pretty good numbers with that. That should mean like 3 miles per kilowatt hour, give or take. But I just love how this thing looks, honestly. And this color, I can't get enough of this color. I even wore green to match it. Accidentally. I had no idea what car I was getting when I was going to film. And they also have OTA update functionality and future downloadable content such as, Smart Park or whatever. And I guess the blind spot monitoring window when you turn your turn signal on is going to be a downloadable paid upgrade, supposedly. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Maybe not everyone cares about that. So it's like, sure, why not? Have as a downloadable feature. They say 50% of customers are willing to pay for additional content after they buy the vehicle. That's fascinating. I'm curious if you guys agree with that. But they're literally about to kick me out in 2 minutes, so that's pretty much it. There is a 6-seat and a 7-seat configurable option. I don't know which trims get which seating configurations. That was something to note in the EV9. People were punished by buying the highest trim model. If they wanted 7 seats, they couldn't do that. They couldn't have both. So I'm curious if they do that similarly with this or not. We don't know about pet mode or camp mode. All right, guys, here's a really quick look at a Korean spec, just so we can kind of compare some of the pieces and trims that they had hidden in another studio that I've gotten like 5 minutes of access to. So let's take a quick look around. So this one is equipped with the actual like turbine 21-inch wheels. There are actually gonna be a couple different 21-inch wheel designs. These and then more of a fan blade, like 5-spoke fan blade type thing. These are pretty cool. These are also clearly airline inspired. And then the other green one that I just saw was actually the SEL, which I learned. They haven't really told us all the trim breakdowns yet, so I'm learning as I go. But that had the black accents here. This is actually body color, which is pretty cool. This color is not actually available in the US at launch. They could bring other colors to the US later. We'll get this color in like a matte color, but this like Celadon thing, this is actually the metallic version, which is gonna be in Korea, but not here in the US. That's also why you see the digital rear mirrors. Super cool, super sleek. I'm super jealous. Here's the actual mirror. There's my hand. so like they probably take it for granted in Korea. And meanwhile, I'm over here like, that's so cool. Slightly different interior vibe too. This interior color is also not going to be US available, but Other things should be pretty much the same. This one has slightly higher battery, so we can see there. This one also has the glass roof, which is super cool. And like I said, makes it so much more light in here, so much more bright. And this is also the 7-seat configuration. This is the calligraphy trim, but in Korea, the upper trims do allow you to have a 7-seat. Here in the US, the upper trims are actually going to be the limited in the calligraphy. Those are going to be captain's chairs, 6-seat configuration. At launch, that could change. I do think they should offer it. I don't know if it'd be monetarily wise, but there are a number of people who have the money for the premium trims, but also have the size of the family to want 7 seats. Curious how you guys feel on that. And then the other thing I forgot to show you over there was the front trunk. Now, the front is actually the exact same as the EV9, so I'm not really going to spend much time on it. It is bigger with the rear motor option, smaller with the dual motor because of the front motor, obviously, but that's worth showing right there. Not a class-leading trunk, or front trunk, I will say. Class-leading in a lot of ways. They spent a lot of time comparing it to the Model X and the Rivian R1S, which it does beat in many ways. It is a smaller footprint, but still fitting larger things and like bigger space inside. Part of that's because of the space between the wheelbase. So that really helps with that, but it does not have the front size of the Model X or the Rivian, I don't think. I'll double check those numbers, but still. Anyways, the back is probably what's more important anyways. And that's where they really do shine with the storage space. So just a really quick look at kind of the Korean spec. A couple other things. Like I said, we don't get the digital rear mirror. Oh, I just noticed the plus and minus button on the pedals. That's kind of cool. And we also don't get this UV cleaning thing. This is a UV cleaning tray thing, UVC button right here. We will not be getting that. It's super cool. I kind of wish that wasn't silly off. I mean, I don't want to say silly, like this was developed partially during COVID. So they were like, you can throw things in there, have them UV cleaned, like mask, phone, keys, whatever. That's cool. But that's also a not US option. Otherwise, looks pretty much the same. Take a look at the, wow, pretty deep glove box. Cool trim here. Let's see if anything is different in this one. As far as software, I'm just like getting a little bit of bonus time, which is kind of nice. But this, yeah, the screen is snappy. I just love being able to rest my hand here. Kia. Battery conditioning, plug and charge. That will be available as well. And just trying to see what else is different here. If anything, it all feels very typical EGMP. You do have the passenger talk option. Yeah, that's kind of funny. And this one does have the actual rear view mirror working, so that's good. I also got clarity on one of the things you can purchase to download is the like light up welcome sequence when you actually walk up to the car. That's something that's a bit unique. I mean, more cars are now letting you do that, but always cool to have a unique lighting signature, not completely customizable, but at least you can pick from a variety of options, probably as a paid download. I also got clarity on the battery voltage. It is 610, maybe 612, something like that, nominal. So it is more than the EV9's 552-ish nominal. So that does explain the slightly better charging, slightly faster 10 to 80, and slightly more power as well. Having more horsepower, especially just on the single motor, does help a little bit. Although they're quoting 0 to 60 in 8.4 seconds, and then this is 0 to 100 kph in 9.4 seconds. There's no way, something's not adding up there. So we'll see if they change the numbers that they were providing us. They also haven't quoted top speed on charging, but it has to be decent, might even see 250. But at a Tesla supercharger, you will see about 100. Not ideal. So 10 to 80 on a CCS charger, 24 minutes. But on a Tesla supercharger, you're looking at like 40 minutes. It'll have access to them though, which is nice. And as we've learned in some of our race videos, jumping 10 minutes off the highway to a CCS charger versus sometimes the Tesla chargers are literally right off the highway, all that time can add up and it might still be worth it to do a Tesla supercharger stop.
So there you have it, the Hyundai IONIQ 9. First look, first little glimpse into this awesome new product, and I'm hoping a new glimpse into the EGMP updates. I was so rushed for time, I didn't even have time to like shoot an outro, but yeah, there's not much else to say other than let me know if you guys have any more questions. Of course, we don't know pricing. We do know they are aiming for it to qualify for the federal tax credit, although I don't know which trim that will be or which trims. So I'm sure that could be capped at some point. And of course, we're in this sort of season of political unrest. That's probably the best PC way to put it. So we don't know what's going to happen with the tax credits, if anything. But even then, I think compelling. I'm hoping to see the price not be too much higher than EV9, maybe even comparable. We'll see. We might even see great lease incentives here in Colorado, but again, I can't speak for the rest of the country on that point. But let me know what you guys think of the IONIQ 9, and yeah, let's put this one to sleep here. But I'm intrigued, honestly. I think the photos didn't look, I mean, they were interesting, but not amazing. But looking at it in person, felt like it was a lot better. It's just one of those cars that doesn't render super well, which is ironic because it kind of feels pixelated and futuristic and, you know, edgy in some ways. But I think it looks fantastic, especially that green. I'm so glad they brought the green that was literally from the Concept 7 to the IONIQ 9. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to pursue answers from Hyundai themselves. And I'm excited to get our hands on it for actual testing, road tripping, maybe like a race to Vegas situation with more SUVs now that we have more options. Should be very interesting to see this thing roll out. And it'd be cool to see it with NACS. These were pre-production like prototypes that we were filming with, so that's why they had CCS, just so they could charge them while they're still working on the implementation with Tesla and NACS. But yeah, we'll see that roll out as well next year. So stay tuned for more IONIQ 9 coverage. Of course, if we have any more updates, I'll let you guys know. In the meantime, keep driving electric. Yeah, we don't really have a catchphrase, do we? Bye.
It does also ship at start with, yes, you guessed it, NACS.
Wait, what?